Welcome back, everybody. We're doing another one. We're doing a headlight build. We're doing some sea lights in a subscriber's car, not my car. My car already has the Dow Dynamic sea lights, so we're doing the Profile Prism Morimoto combination sea lights. I've built 500-ish sets of headlights in the past. I used to run my own headlight retrofit company, so this should be a quick and dirty one for me. Let's jump right into it. The tools we're going to need for this install: you're going to need a pair of dikes, some zip ties, a pop clip removal tool, 2 flatheads, preferably one small, one smaller than the other, a thing of electrical tape, some sort of needle nose pliers, solder, vice grips, wire strippers, a 10mm, some insulated gloves, because we're going to be putting these in the oven, some rubber gloves so you don't get your grimy little fingerprints all over everything, and then a soldering iron. Just because you don't need the soldering iron or the solder, but I like to solder all my connections. But if you are just doing the plug and play thing like you can, you don't need those two. So you also need an impact with a Phillips head and a drill, only if you're using an STI. But regardless, very simple. So boop, let's jump right into it. Alright, once you've got the headlight out of the car, you're going to want to turn it around to the back side. Now this is an STI headlight. A WRX headlight will be extremely similar to this one. So when you're doing it, you've got 5 of these Phillips head screws going around the outside of the bucket. You've got 1 holding this main wiring harness in. We're going to leave the wiring harness in, but take out all the bulbs and everything like that. So we're going to go through, start unplugging this and taking out all 5 of these screws. Alright, with this back bulb, if you're like me and you're going to solder this, you can go ahead and just cut this guy off, like so. If you're not soldering, don't cut this off. If you're a WRX owner, you're also going to have another screw about right up here in the top portion of the headlight if you're looking at the back side. Make sure you get that one out as well. The STIs don't have it. So now that we've gotten all of our screws out, we're going to go throw this guy in the oven and start heating it up. So now that we've got the headlight disassembled and ready to go in the oven, we're going to preheat the oven up to 170. So bring that guy all the way down. Woo! Come on. 170, bake, let it preheat. Mine's already preheated because I just did the other headlight. So get this guy in the oven for about 5 to 6 minutes, and then we'll pull it out and start ripping it apart. Now we've got our headlight out of the oven. A good way to test temperature is just put your forearm on it. It's not going to burn you, but it'll be warm. So you're going to want to start at this inside edge. Take 2 flatheads and just gently work your way around the headlight, opening it up from the tabs, and you'll see it start to peel away. Alright, then once you've got enough of the sealant pulled out, you can go ahead, set the headlight on its side, grab both the bucket and the lens, and start to pull them away from each other gently. Do it gently, not hard. You rip things, you'll break plastic. And then start to pull it out and away from each other at this bottom edge, because you have tabs that sit inside of this bucket. So pull out and then up. Then you'll be left with some of these spider webs like this. So don't let the spider webs sling back, so grab the sealant and just start pulling it out. And our lens is free from the bucket. So set the bucket aside. Now with the lens, start pulling off all of the old sealant going around this guy and just start ripping it off. Do not reuse this. Your headlights won't reseal and you're gonna get all the water in them. All of the old sealant is now off of the lens. So we're going to take a impact with Phillips head. There's 3 screws in here. You got 3 Phillips head screws in here. Go ahead and remove those. Alright, and then with those 3 screws out, go ahead and grab it up here by the corner and then just slide it out from that, and then you're left with just the lens. Set that with the back side down. Set this guy off to the side. Alright, once you've got the inner shroud pulled out from the headlight, on the back side, you're going to see these plastic clips going all the way around it. Go ahead and pull out the outer 4 first, and that'll pull off this cover. And then after we get that cover off, we're going to pull out the inner ones, and that'll pull out the light diffuser. So the easiest way to do this is with a pair of needle nose pliers. You can start doing these by hand first, and just popping them out. And then once you get to these inside ones, go ahead and take those pliers, squeeze them together, and pull it out. And bam. Then we can set that guy aside. We're not going to be doing anything with that quite yet. And then we're left with this inner diffuser piece. So we're going to end up doing the same thing we just did with that piece on these and pulling it out. So you got tabs going all the way around. These ones are easy to pull out. Just squeeze them together, push them through. And then you can just yank this guy right out. So this is what diffuses the light in the headlight. So once we pull the LED out, I'll kind of show you the routing of how it goes, but extremely easy to pull out. We're not going to end up reusing that, so we can set that over there. And then we have our shroud. Then we have our shroud ready to go. So with all the STI headlights, the WRXs, you're going to be able to just fit this plug through that corner hole, no problem. But with the STIs, you're going to need to drill it up. So I'm using a step drill bit, flip over the headlight, and then go ahead and up drill that back hole right here, just big enough to be able to get the plug through. And then make sure you're blowing out all of the debris that's on this backside after you've drilled it out, because you don't want that stuff floating around in your headlights. Bam. And with that, we have our hole big enough, so we can go ahead and slide this guy through that hole now. Pull it through, and then get our LED strip set in place. So these are the Morimoto ones that have been rebranded by Profile Prism. So I think the temperature range or the Kelvin on these is about 6,500, where the Dow Dynamics I think are 55. So get that guy lined up. They're not always going to want to cooperate like this one, how it's floating around and hanging out. So we're going to have to push it down in. So go ahead and get the lens cover set back on top. You can go ahead and slide in these corners a little bit. And then you're going to have to start lining this up and finagling it in. So with the top, I had to push down on the strip a little bit to get it to inlay into the grooves of the headlight itself. But once you have got everything inlaid and lined up, go ahead and push and click this cover back down. And with that, we have our sea light inside of our headlight now, or inside of the lens shroud, whatever you want to call it. Good practice is after you touch this, wear some gloves if you can so you don't get oily fingerprints everywhere, but go ahead and wipe it down just to get any residue that might have came off from that butyl sealant off. Last thing you want to do is get these things reassembled completely and then notice that there's something inside of the headlight, which is awful. I've done it before and I had to take it back apart, and it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Alright, and now that we're done with the shroud for installing these sea lights. So with this, we're going to slide it back into the lens, and we're going to put it back into the lens the same way that we took it out. So go ahead and slide the innermost corner in first, and then lay it in. There's little plastic tabs on the bottom of where all of these screw holes go. You're going to need to slide it over the tab on each one, and it'll click into place. Put the 3 screws back in that hold it down. And our shroud is good to go now. So we've got our shroud back inside the lens, screwed down and cleaned off. The next thing we need to do is put new sealant inside of the bucket, and then we can start reassembling this unit. So now that we're ready to start messing with the bucket, we're gonna end up taking this screw up here in the top out. This is gonna be your LED module, I guess you could call it, that ends up powering the strip. So essentially this sits on that LED, and then the light diffuses through these guys right here. So we're not gonna end up using that again. We're not gonna end up using this. We're also taking this cover sheath off. Both of those guys, unscrew those. This module, it's going to come out with a wire attached to it. Just undo the wire, unplug it and set it aside. You can tuck that wire down behind here where it's going to be out of the way. This cover just comes right off as well. Set that guy to the side. And now we need to start running new sealant inside of the headlight. Now we're ready to start running the sealant for the headlight. So what we're going to do is we're going to be using Morimoto's retro rubber butyl, which comes in these nice strips. And you just pull off however much you need. I always go a little bit less than what I think I need, because you're going to need to stretch it out a little bit. So cut off a nice strip like that, and you're going to stretch it. You're going to start running it in the seams of the bucket itself. So now that we've got the new sealant running all the way around, I'm going to take a little bit of this excess strip and just start cutting off pieces and putting them in these spots where the screws are going to end up feeding through. So once you have the excess pieces put in here, go ahead and start pushing them down with a small flathead screwdriver. So that way when we go to put the lens in here, it'll seal up a lot easier. Like I said, there's only 5 spots that you have to do this in, so it's not that much extra work, and I promise you, you won't regret it later when you go to put it back on. But easy enough. We have our new seal put in place. So with the new seal put in place, you're gonna grab your lens and the wire harness for that sea light, and you're gonna end up feeding it through where we took that cover off on the side of it. Get it in so it's probably 80% through. Slide the lens into the side covers, making sure everything is lined up. Make sure the bottoms are lined up, and then flip it around, make sure the top's lined up as well. And now we're gonna throw this guy back in the oven for another 5 to 6 minutes, and we'll start getting it pressed together. So we just got the headlight out of the oven. I found that it's best to just pull and squeeze these 2 pieces together until you can't anymore. And then once you get to that point, flip it over on the bottom side, take a pair of vice grips, and what you're gonna wanna do is clamp on the 2 parts and just pull them together. They'll clip into place, make sure the tab sits over, and this is the easiest way to do it. Careful though, if you've never used vice grips before, which I'm assuming you have, if you're working on a car. That was a dumb question. Just don't squeeze too hard, because you'll break the plastic coating, and then you'll snap your lens, and then you won't have a good time. It won't be fun. So get all these tabs pushed back together as you're going through them. Bam! So we have all the tabs pushed together going around the outside. There is 4 of them up on top, 1 on the side, and then 4 on the bottom as well. Once you get all those pushed together, go ahead and flip it over. So you're looking at the back side, and while the sealant is still hot, you're going to want to put those 5 screws back in. So headlight sealed back up. It's still a little warm, it's cooling a little bit, but we have all 5 screws in the back of it put back into place. Now we're going to start reassembling the headlight. So take your high beam bulb and stick that guy back into place. Plug it in, and then shove that wiring somewhere where it's going to be out of the way. Alright, next comes time to give power to the modules. So like you have seen in the past, I don't like plug-in connectors. I like to solder everything, so I'm just going to cut that guy off, not going to use it. We're going to strip these and then get these soldered together. White's going to go to red, black's going to go to black, and then orange is our turn signal, and we're going to tap into the bumper harness, or the harness on the car for that one, since it's on the lower portion of the bumper. So we're going to get these stripped and get them soldered together. Like that, our wiring is done on the headlight portion. Make sure that you go ahead and plug in both ends of the connector, and that's good to go now. So one more thing that we need to do is over here where the wiring comes out, we need to throw a little seal in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit more. We're going to take a little piece of that Budol retro rubber and just create a seal going around here. I like to loop it around, have that main wiring harness come out of the middle portion, and just block it off. So just get it started by hand, wrapping it around. Like so. Trim off any excess. And then you're going to want to create that seal. Just push it down, in and around. And this will make sure no water, dirt, debris, or anything gets into that back hole that we just made. I haven't been able to find any caps or bungs that fit these at all. I've tried using the OE connectors, but I don't want to repin these if I don't have to. So just create the seal on the back side. Now it's watertight, nothing will get through here. We've got the headlight assembly put back together, and the headlight itself is ready to go back in the car. So we're gonna go get the headlight thrown back in the car, run one more wire tap for that turn signal, and then get the bumper thrown back on. This thing will be good to go. Apologies for the bad audio. So to put the headlight back in, set it up, plug in the main harness on the backside back into the headlight, move the flapper do, and then slide this guy up and in. There's a small tab on the side of the fender right down here where the headlight's gonna lock into place. Throw the one pop clip back into the top. And then throw this cover back on. So like I was saying, the orange connector is going to tap on the harness. When you go to get it, sometimes Morimoto like pushes these things all the way on one side, so you're going to have to grab a small flathead, bend it back down so it's in the middle, and then plug it into that blue tapped T connector that we have, and slide it in. So you have your keys on you? Just hit lock or unlock. Bam, so as you can see, we have power. The orange is flashing. So we know it has power, we know it's working, so now we're gonna get everything else reassembled. There's 5 bolts that hold this in, 2 on the top, 2 on the side, and then 2 on the inside. We're gonna get those screwed in, throw the bumper back on, and then get some cinematic stuff of the headlight itself. Bam, easy, easy money. They look great, and it's worth the price. If you've never done headlights before, just follow this video, and I promise you, you can do it. It's extremely simple. Don't pay a shop to do it. I used to be that shop, so don't. You can do it yourself. I promise you it's not that bad putting your headlights in an oven. If you don't have an oven, you can use a heat gun, but I don't recommend using a heat gun, only because if you hold it in one spot too long, you're gonna start to warp or melt the plastic, and it just doesn't look good, and sometimes it doesn't seal properly. So we got it done though, and it looks great now. Easy stuff. If you have any questions about the install, drop a comment below. If you haven't already and this video helped you, smash that like button, and if you're not subscribed to the page already, shoot your boy a subscription. It helps, and I get excited whenever I see new subscribers popping up all the time. Like, what? So, I appreciate everyone's time. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.